Hello and welcome to part 4 of my Dragon Wars video walkthrough for the Apple II. In this video I will work through Tar's Ruins and the small dungeon below it. When making these videos I ran ahead and finished part 9 before I added the audio here, and it made me realize something I just posted in the auxiliary video about allocating party stat points. If you're just watching along, don't worry, but if you're not, I will tell you what is worth improving and how to get a few levels if you need them at this stage. There's a simple way that works well even without the Druid Magic exploit. Also, I have provided a link to my guide at GameFAQs and the TARS maps. Okay, so I started here outside the slave camp because my initial recording, I actually visited the pool behind that, forgetting I'd already done so. And so I'm just exploring Forlorn right now. We've seen this arms cache before. We don't really need the equipment from it, but the dragon stones are always nice. They'll help us a bit with the Tar's Ruins. Right now we're going to map things out, and then Tar's is on the east side of the island. We don't have to do this, but it's just neat to get the whole picture and to show, okay, this is how we'll auto map. I'll go through things a bit quicker as we move on. And here is Tar's, the city. It is 16 by 16, and it has a bunch of little passages. It's not really shaped like Purgatory. It has more corridors, and it has more accessible treasure. And it also has, well, stairs down to the dungeon I mentioned in the introduction. The enemies here are tougher, too. There are some fixed combats that we need to plow through to get the treasure we want. But nothing is too tough here. No enemies are as tough as the bridge guards. There is a risk that you will get killed, especially with one monster in particular that's guarding treasure. But this all should not be too bad. And here we ran through the monsters to find some high magic scrolls. And we're going to sweep around for a while. I maybe shouldn't have gotten into as many fights as I did, but I might as well give a general feel for how the enemies aren't too bad. You can see the spitting lizard is kind of annoying, but it doesn't have too many hit points, so we're able to kill it pretty quickly. They do get a bit tiresome, though. This should be the last of the enemies, and then, well, the last of the fixed combats that have random enemies. We're going to run into a much tougher one in a moment now that we've mapped out the south and east edges. Here's the guardian snake. And yes, it is guarding something, and yes, it can kill you. I probably should have saved before this combat just to make sure nothing went wrong, but I'm going to escape okay. The large shield is nice. The fire sword, we will see it would, technically speaking, be best to give it to Sam in the first position, but Cliff is not bad. You can see that I gained armor class and attack. It's a nice magic weapon that will do very well until we get to the later part of the game. And I'm saving here, and will do so again because I think I was looking for a trap. there is one that will kill your party, or risk killing someone in your party, so you want to save before you hit it. And now I'm just going to be walking around and mapping things out. Again, the enemies do some actual hit point damage as opposed to purgatory, but it shouldn't be too much if you're well equipped. You can see I'm kind of taking out a few squares at a time, then auto-mapping, then taking out a few more. I think I've found all the special squares, and this is just a matter of verifying that there aren't any others. There is one where we are going to use a lore skill, and actually we're going to reboot afterwards because I'm cheap and it's the only place we use that lore skill, or the only one that I'm aware of. You can see there are some enemies in common with Purgatory. There are more of them in this case. 8 spiders. I don't think they ever get above 4 or so in Purgatory. And some damage is getting done here. I should probably get around to healing Norm, but I just kind of forgot. There, finally. So now I'm covering the northwest a bit. And there's about another minute of this before we uncover some local flavor. I think it's going pretty well overall. At 7 minutes, that is a square every 2 seconds, and we haven't taken combat into account. Well, 16 by 16 is 256, which would be 4 minutes and 16 seconds for 1 square per second. And here is the town square. And strange murals cover the walls, so we aren't able to tell what they are. And we save the game. Give a player the skill, use it, and then reboot so that we don't actually use up a skill point. And paragraph 23, which tells about a dragon and horrible sacrifices and stuff. And so now we reboot, and now it is off to the Tars dungeon for real after we explore a few more squares to make sure there's nothing on them. I suppose later we could come back after we've gotten the softened stone spell and verify that there's nothing in the little buildings or closed boxes or whatever, but that's that's very detail oriented and certainly too much for this video. I just wanted to give a general feel of how you go about things if you'd want to map things out yourself. So the trap is just off to the east, and I make sure to save the game in case anybody really gets torched. Sam almost did, but once it's sprung, it won't spring again even if you go down and up. At least I don't think so. We know the trap's there, and that's the important thing. Now we use the strength and climb down to Tar's underground. And the Tar's Ruins underground is only 8 by 8, but there are 4 secret doors here along with a spinner. Behind one secret door, we'll find the first of 4 special items that open up an optional quest line, which we will be exploring, and another leads to the underworld. The 2 others lead to treasure. Enemies here are too tough to fight continually, but we can run and escape with minimal breathing damage. And you can see Fraser just cast Guidance, which is a sun magic spell, which is the same as Magic Compass in Bard's Tale. This is where I loop back to talking about the grinding video I made. If we had gotten Fraser's levels up a bit and wanted to, we could have improved his sun magic skill, which would have allowed us to cast a 4 or 6 or even more 10 or 12 point spell while we were over the recharge pool. And here we found a secret door where your footsteps sound hollow in a big north-south passage. And it's nice treasure. It's not game-breaking, but we might as well take what's there. And here, broken arms of a statue, which drops the hint that there might be other pieces of the statue. In fact, there are 4 of them. They're kind of strewn about the game. And we will find what the statue is later. Okay, goblins, at this point, I think I can pretty much just attack them and win, but they will do damage. After finding a few more items, they will not be able to because my armor class will be high enough. Now, we're going to look at our first wrapping map in a bit to verify that it is indeed 8 by 8, and you can see rooms and such repeating. We're pretty close to mapping this out, but there are going to be tough fights ahead, which are going to probably take most of the remainder of the time. Now's a good time to use those not death curse spells, fire blast spells to knock out the goblins, because too many of them can still stun the party. And it's worth noting that if we use a Dragonstone, we'll get back up to 20 MP, which allows only 1 fire blast. And then if we get down to 8 after that and we use a Dragonstone, we will drop to, we will go to 24. We won't hit 28 because 24 is the maximum. Here we go, the adventurers. Now here's where we really use the fire blasts. And I shouldn't have had Sam cast a spell. Or if I did, I should have had him cast the others. Because those 10 spell points I'm not sure what to do with. Maybe a death curse spell. So the wizard is casting Firelight, which will do damage but not too much. They can also cast Whirlwind to blow you away. And you notice I am fishing for fights here, running from the tough ones. The Wraith's going to do some damage with their spells, but not enough to really worry me. So now we have Cliff open the chest, and all this gold is nice. We don't really need the other scrolls because we've already remembered them. Oh, Firelight is nice for high magic. It's like Sunstroke or Mage Fire, but you can scale it up based on your level. You can also, if you really want, improve high magic level, but the thing with high magic level is it doesn't improve the big group or range based spells that you have that'll do damage to a bunch of people, like Sun Magic does, which has Inferno, which we'll get later. That's a big inflection point in the game where you can get that and just hit opponents with a ton of group spells. In fact, it attacks all groups. So we're about to encounter a spinner, and I think there is a small bug with the game where it will turn us around and we can actually walk through a wall. It doesn't refresh the graphics for some reason, so you can see that the spinner was 2 north and 1 west of the map, but I cut through the door to the south, or rather the wall to the south. This spinner makes it slightly tough to map everything, and I think I'm not going to get to where it lets me go west. You can go to all 4 different directions equally, even the one you just came from or the one you're going to. And so I'm going to try once more. This time I am kicked to north, and so I figure, okay, or rather, I will eventually get kicked north. And you can see at this point I just say, okay, I'll look at this room here, ignore the spitting snakes. Yay. And we are finished mapping the Tar's ruins. You can see, even though it was a bit smaller than Tar's, it had its own little tricks to look through every square. And now the stairs are 1 east of the stone arms. We have Samu's climb, and we're in the underworld, actually a few squares east of the stairs up to Purgatory. This puts us in good position for our next video, which will be lawnmowering through the underworld. That's all there is to this video. Thanks for watching through, and if you enjoyed this enough, giving a like or subscribing if you haven't already goes a long way in encouraging me to share more videos of fun games you may want to revisit or didn't realize you missed. See you next video.